He has one of the greatest records for club and country in world football. Xavi is a legend of Barcelona and Spain, a figure who is revered for not only the trophies he won, but the impact he had on the game he loved. Zlatan Ibrahimović is the most controversial figure in world football, as well as one of the best strikers on the planet. There may have been bigger names and prettier footballers during Manchester United's resurgence, but there was no one more important than Roy Keane. This is the Immortals. Barcelona and Spain are two of the most successful teams in recent history, and the common thread in both, a genius named Xavi. Xavi Hernandez played exactly 900 games in his European career, and never has an ending been more fitting than the one which transpired for the greatest midfielder in Spain's history. In his final 3 games at Barcelona, Xavi won 3 trophies: the La Liga title, the Copa del Rey, and Champions League. The build-up to his final farewell was an emotional one for the club and the man himself, who started at Camp Nou when he was just 11 years of age.
Thank you, Barca, and everybody who made this present Barca a reality. I will never be thankful enough to this club. And before I leave, I hope I will be able to lift another trophy next Saturday. I hope this is not a goodbye, but to see you later. The world of football says thank you for everything you have given them, which is a lot. We thank you for being a role model for everybody. Thank you for always thinking first of the team instead of yourself. Thank you for transmitting to us all the values you have learnt during these 24 years in the club. Thank you because your advice has always been authentic football and life lessons to us. Thank you for being the voice of experience among the team. You have been the player who has given us the historical memory necessary to value all we have been able to achieve.
The 35-year-old came on as a 78th minute substitute in the 2015 Champions League final against Juventus. He was handed the captain's armband by his good friend, Andres Iniesta, with his team well in control, and the end result was an emphatic 3-1 victory. That trophy was Xavi's 25th with Barcelona, who again made history as being the first club to win the coveted treble: La Liga, Copa del Rey, and Champions League twice.
Thanks a lot to Luis Enrique, to the technical staff, and to the whole team for giving me such a wonderful season so I can leave with happiness. Thank you very much to all of you. I will miss you a lot. Hooray Barca and hooray Catalonia.
A year earlier, Xavi had brought down the curtain on an international career that was the envy of many. Spain was in a similar position to Barcelona when Xavi started in the national side. Both had been starved of success, and both have since been turned into the best in the world, thanks to the presence of the midfield maestro. At Euro 2008, Xavi was named player of the tournament, as Spain won its first silverware since 1964. 2 years later, when Spain won its first World Cup by defeating the Netherlands, Xavi was named in the team of the tournament. He was again the pivotal player in Spain's defense of its European title in 2012, providing 2 assists in its country's 4-0 domination of Italy in the final. Xavi completed an incredible 95 passes in the final. He'd actually attempted a record 136 earlier in a group match, to again find himself named in the all-star team. His ability to control the flow of a game and make those around him better had him dubbed the Puppet Master. Without doubt, the best midfielder there has been in world football over the last 30 years. Still to come on the Immortals, how the world's best conductor defied change. Xavi learnt the Barcelona way through the club's youth academy, and as a player, he became the emblem of it. He controlled games by always having the ball and became the conductor of the best orchestra world football had seen. Barcelona was famous for its tiki-taka style of play, which was characterized by short passing and movement with the key, maintaining possession. In Xavi, they had the perfect man to run that system, initiated at the club by the great Dutchman Johan Cruyff years earlier. From the first moment I saw him play, I knew he would become the brain behind Barcelona for many years to come. Xavi was the La Liga Player of the Year in 2005, as Barcelona started to build a formidable squad, with the likes of Iniesta and Messi joining the ranks. Xavi's childhood hero had been Barcelona midfielder Pep Guardiola, who he'd played alongside at the start of his career. When Guardiola returned as manager in 2008, it was the start of a successful relationship. The 2008-09 season secured a permanent spot in the history books and in the hearts of every Barcelona fan. It was the most successful in the club's history. Winning the big three titles was something no other Spanish team had done, and only 4 European teams had achieved. And the biggest fixture in Spain is the El Clasico clash between Barcelona and Real Madrid, a stage on which Xavi thrived.
Of course, there is tough play in a Barcelona-Real Madrid game. There is tension and nervousness. Everybody wants to win. We will be there to compete and to give a good impression for Spanish football, because we are seen all over the world, so all those fights of the past are history.
On this occasion in 2009, Barcelona demolished their arch-rivals 6-2, with Xavi's performance still spoken of in awe years later. He became the only player in the history of the Clasico showdown to bag 4 assists, a memorable performance on an unforgettable night. 3 weeks later, he was at it again in the Champions League final against Manchester United. Xavi's calming influence and the impeccable control through the midfield meant the Red Devils never stood a chance. His pinpoint pass to Messi sealed the victory, and the Barcelona vice-captain was later named player of the final. I don't think Xavi and Iniesta have ever given the ball away in their lives. They get you on that carousel, and they can leave you dizzy. Xavi was in the process of changing football and dismissing the myth that physical, fast, athletic midfielders were the future. This was what many believed to be the logical progression of the game. But the Spanish genius proved the door was still open for the small, technical player. He lived on the ethos that the person who has the ball is the master of the game. Think quickly, look for spaces. That's what I do, all day. Always looking. Space, space, space. He finished 3rd in the FIFA Player of the Year in 2009, the same position he achieved in the 2010 and 2011 Ballon d'Or, behind his teammate Messi. There were some who called this an injustice, given the brilliant striker wouldn't be the player he was without his lifeline Xavi. The way I look at it, Xavi deserves the Ballon d'Or, not because he's the best, but because his hard work allows other players to come to the fore. After 133 games with Spain, which included 2 European Championships and a World Cup victory, Xavi ended his international career after the defending champions were bundled out in the group stage of the 2014 World Cup. He initially thought about leaving Barcelona at the same time, but was talked into going around for one more magical season.
Thank you especially to Barca. I arrived here almost 25 years ago, when I was just an 11-year-old boy from Terrassa. And like a lot of boys, I dreamt of being a footballer. I should confess that never in my wildest dreams I could have imagined what I would live later. I look back and I can honestly say that I am immensely happy.
With his Barca playing days over, Xavi went into semi-retirement, moving to Qatar, where he joined local side Al Sadd for as much as 10 million euros annually. He also became an ambassador for the 2022 World Cup, which will be held in the oil and gas-rich Arab nation. Despite the controversy surrounding the awarding of the tournament to Qatar amid bribery allegations, Xavi is adamant the tiny nation will produce an extraordinary event that will now be held in the winter months of November and December to alleviate the stifling heat of summer.
I have trained here in high temperatures in August, but it's different in December. And those will be the ideal temperatures for footballers. I think it will be an extraordinary World Cup, because there aren't large distances to travel. The footballers can stay in just one hotel for the whole World Cup. So I think it will be extraordinary.
Up next on the Immortals, the enigma that is Zlatan Ibrahimović. He makes headlines like he scores goals. There is no one like Zlatan Ibrahimović, and in all likelihood, there never will be again. There may be a trail of destruction left behind wherever he goes, but Zlatan Ibrahimović also brings goals, lots of goals, and trophies. That's why the Swedish star polarizes opinion, with many ranking him the third best player of the modern era, behind Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. His longevity in the game has been a standout, along with his ability to stay relevant and at the top of his game. At the age of 35, Ibrahimović became the oldest player in Premier League history to score 15 goals in a single season during his first campaign with Manchester United in 2016-17. I won't be king of Manchester, I will be God of Manchester. Bragging and then backing it up has been a common thread throughout his career. His love for the game undeniable.
I shine 24 hours, so depends how you want me to shine. I mean, I've been in the game for 20 years and I'm getting older, yes, but the older I get, the better I get, I feel. So, but I'm shining in one way or in another way, so. But if you want me to shine even more, I will try to do it for you.
Ibrahimović is the only player to score Champions League goals for 6 different clubs. Everywhere the imposing 195-centimeter goal machine goes, trophies follow, as do the headlines. He also carried Sweden on his back and is the country's all-time leading scorer with 62 goals from 116 caps. It all started in humble beginnings in the port city of Malmö on Sweden's southern coast, the son of a Bosnian father and Croatian mother.
When it comes to club, when I started in a club, I think I was 7 years old. Before that, I was playing in the garden with my friends, with the people who was living around the garden and the neighborhood. I mean, the football was the main thing that we did there. Of course, I did a lot of things outside the football. I did martial arts, which is no secret. I said, I will do football because I know I can make a difference. So, but I brought all the other training methods with me in the football. That's why I think I have different kind of skills than the other ones.
Ibrahimović signed his first contract with Malmo at 15, and it wasn't long before managers from around the world were queuing up for his services. Arsene Wenger unsuccessfully tried to persuade him to join Arsenal. He wanted the young Swede to do a trial, which famously drew the response, "Zlatan doesn't do auditions." His first move was to Ajax for 3 seasons, before a €16 million deal with Juventus. In August 2006, he signed a €24.8 million deal with Inter Milan, the team he supported as a boy, and his status took off. In his first season, he scored 15 goals, and Inter won the Scudetto with a record 97 points. A year later, he signed a contract extension that reportedly made him the highest-paid player in the world. In 2009, he moved to Barcelona to play with Messi, winning more titles, with Ibrahimović describing it as football from another planet. A falling out with manager Pep Guardiola soured his time at Camp Nou, with Ibrahimović declaring, "You bought a Ferrari, but you drive it like a Fiat." A brief spell with Milan followed, before in 2012 he joined French giant Paris Saint-Germain on an annual salary in excess of €14 million, which made him the world's second highest player behind Cameroon's Samuel Eto'o. And the star Swedish striker quickly went to work, re-establishing PSG as a force in Ligue 1. It was in the opening Champions League clash against Dynamo Kiev, when he scored his 6th goal from 5 matches, that he became the first player to score a Champions League goal for 6 different clubs. It was while on international duties with Sweden in November that year, at the opening of Friends Arena in Stockholm, that Ibrahimović stunned the world and England. He'd already scored a hat-trick, which had Sweden ahead 3-2. But deep in injury time, he produced a goal for the ages. A deep pass drew England goalkeeper Joe Hart out of the box, who then headed the ball up, not away, almost right to Ibrahimović. Without a moment of hesitation, and despite facing the right sideline, Ibrahimović snapped a stunning bicycle kick volley from 30 yards out, wide on the right, which lobbed over a stranded Hart and defender Ryan Shawcross. England skipper Steven Gerrard, playing his 100th match in national colours, summed it up best. "That's the best goal I've seen. That was a world-class performance from a world-class player." That strike was voted FIFA Goal of the Year at the 2013 Ballon d'Or celebrations, attracting 48.7% of the votes by fans. Ibrahimović and PSG would win 4 consecutive league titles, and in 2015, he became the club's leading goal scorer in its history. His 15-year international career finished on a disappointing note at Euro 2016. After scoring 11 goals during qualifying, Ibrahimović went scoreless in the group stage and just 1 registered shot at goal, as Sweden was eliminated, with the captain announcing his retirement from national duties immediately afterwards. He'd played in 2 World Cups and produced one of his more famous quotes after Sweden failed to qualify in 2014. "One thing for sure, a World Cup without me is nothing to watch." Ibrahimović has always been good to watch. In that first year at Manchester United, he scored the winning goals in the Community Shield final and again in the EFL Cup win over Southampton, scoring twice in the 3-2 win, his 25th and 26th goals of the season. Still shining and still making headlines, and that's why he's one of world football's immortals. While he regularly ran foul of referees, opponents, and even teammates, there was another side to Ibrahimović, which he showed after scoring in a match for PSG in 2015. Ibrahimović took off his shirt to reveal 50 names temporarily tattooed on his body in a show of support for the United Nations World Food Programme. And for many, the great Muhammad Ali was an idol and inspiration, and the late boxing champ's indelible mark on the world was not lost on Ibrahimović. Following Ali's death at 74 in June 2016, Ibra reflected on the man who changed so many lives.
My big idol passed a couple of days ago. It was Muhammad Ali. For me, he was a big inspiration. He was my idol. This was one of my dreams to meet him, but it will not happen.
When we return, the Irishman who was the heart and soul during Manchester United's most successful era. He was hard, tough, and uncompromising. Roy Keane and Manchester United were a match made in heaven. He was the mad Irishman at the helm of the biggest club in the land, driving them to trophy after trophy. Roy Keane wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but not even his harshest critics can argue he wasn't one of the most influential figures in the history of the Premier League. During his 12 seasons at Manchester United, the midfield general brought 17 trophies to Old Trafford. He was a crowd favourite from day one, after manager Sir Alex Ferguson stole him from under the noses of Blackburn. Keane started his career in Ireland with the Cobb Ramblers, before moving to Nottingham Forest, where he caught the eye of a number of Premier League heavyweights. Keane scored a double at his Man U home debut against Sheffield United in 1993, and then the winner in the Manchester Derby 3 months later. Manchester United retained their Premier League title in his first season and also claimed the FA Cup. The trophies continued to flow, with Keane named captain in 1997, although a knee injury curbed his momentum and United's.
You know, last year, at the start of the season, we were really doing well, and then picked up the injury. Then over Christmas, the team were flying. You know, people were saying, well, they're not really missing me. Then towards the end of the season, when we struggled, some people said, you know, they could have done me in the team. So I'd like to think I would have helped the team.
He's a fantastic player, and we have missed him. There's no question about that. You don't go through a season without your best player, without missing him.
Ferguson was head of the Keane cheer squad and described his performance in the 1999 Champions League semi-final against Juventus as one of the best he'd ever seen. United found themselves 2-0 down before their inspirational captain dragged them back from the brink for a memorable 3-2 victory. Competing as if he would rather die of exhaustion than lose, he inspired all around him. Keane's physical style saw him live on the edge, and he often crossed over, collecting 11 red cards at Manchester United. There were plenty of altercations, but one of the most famous came on the eve of the 2002 World Cup in Japan, with Republic of Ireland coach Mick McCarthy sending his star home from a training camp after they argued about the facilities on the island of Saipan. It was almost inevitable that two headstrong bulls like Keane and Ferguson would fall out, and that's what happened in 2005. A training ground clash with assistant Carlos Queiroz and an inflammatory television interview where he criticized his teammates was the last straw for Ferguson. The pair fell out spectacularly, and a decade on were still not seeing eye to eye after both brought out books which shed new light on their differences.
For Alex Ferguson, not just to criticise myself, but for other players who were part of a team that, you know, brought some good days to lots of supporters, and for him to criticise that when you think of what he made out of it, he made millions of pounds on it, you know. He got his statues, he's got his stand named after him. To come back and then criticise. Again, I said at the time, I wasn't too bothered about myself, but to criticise people who brought him success was just was just ridiculous. So would I ever forgive him? I don't know. Listen, I don't know.
Keane played one last season with Celtic before turning his hand to management, with successful albeit short stints at Sunderland and Ipswich Town. The Romantics at Old Trafford hope he returns one day to the place which he owned, the place where he became an immortal. And even though they may not be on speaking terms, Ferguson is best placed when it comes to summing up the legend of Roy Keane. When you are talking about Manchester United, Roy Keane will be regarded as one of the greatest players ever at this club.